suggest learners focus on just one skill per session, like listening or reading, or mix it up?
Actually, you can train both because it's basically the same thing. What's up guys? Welcome to our channel, Get Language Online 講師の左半身と Today's special guest is ChatGPT. What we'd like to do today is we want to talk about how to improve English for Japanese people who are learning English.
Hello! GeLa Language Online 講師の左半身です。このチャンネルはついついクソ真面目になって勉強してしまう英語を巷にあふれるクスクスゲラゲラ笑える投稿記事を使いながら楽しく真面目に勉強するチャンネルです。チャンネル登録をよろしくお願いしますね。
So, ChatGPT, can we start?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me, Hidari. I'm excited to talk about how Japanese learners can improve their English. There are definitely some common challenges, like word order and pronunciation. Where do you think we should start first?
Okay, let's start with word orders.
Great choice. Word order is definitely tricky for Japanese learners since English and Japanese are structured so differently. In English, sentences usually start with the subject, followed by the verb, and then the object. But in Japanese, the verb comes at the end. This difference can really confuse learners. What's your advice for getting used to English word order?
Well, first of all, you don't really have to try it with English. I mean, like, you can change word orders in Japanese. Like, 私はします何々を場所時 You know, you have to remember first of all subject and then what you did like a verb and then like where or like how. Like most important things come first and then followed by a lot of small things like details. So what you need to do is just practice word orders in Japanese first. Then what you do is just replace the Japanese words with English words, right?
That's a smart approach. By practicing the word order in Japanese first, learners can focus on the structure before even worrying about English. Once they've got that down, it's easier to switch the words to English without getting confused. It's like building a framework in their minds that they can follow. It simplifies the process, especially when dealing with longer sentences that have more details. How do you suggest learners keep practicing this, Hidari?
Well, that's such a good question. And actually, our channel has the video to let you practice with it. It's called 英語の定規, which means English rulers. So what we do in that video is like, you know, there's like a ruler saying like, you know, you need to put subject first, verb, and then like object, and then place, when. In that video, you have Japanese, you need to make it into English. So first of all, you're not gonna translate it into English like directly. What you do is just put the Japanese word onto the ruler, okay? For example, 私は昨日スーパーに行きました. Then you're not gonna translate it into like I went to the supermarket yesterday directly. What you do is 私は行きましたスーパーに昨日 And then what you do is just think about English, try to speak English words. Eventually, before you know it, you can just speak the perfect English. So, please have a look at 英語の定規 videos, okay? And, of course, you can do it by yourself after learning the word orders. Once you talk to yourself in Japanese, you go like, oh, okay, so what's the English word order? And then you can change it into English orders. Then you get used to word orders. Then eventually you can speak English word orders naturally. What do you think about this method?
That's an amazing method, Hidari. The idea of using a ruler to visually organize the sentence parts is such a helpful way to train learners' minds to follow English word order. By placing the Japanese words in the right spots first, learners can focus on the structure without stressing about direct translation. It's like creating a mental map before filling in the details. And over time, as they practice more, it will become second nature to think in English word order. I love how your video provides a step-by-step guide for this. It's practical and interactive. Plus, talking to yourself in Japanese and then switching the order is a great way to reinforce the habit. How long do you think it usually takes for learners to get comfortable with this technique?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, when I learned this ruler method, I was 14 years old because I had to take a entrance exam for high school. And then I just kept learning the word orders by like making a ruler. And I'm pretty sure I learned it like within a week by keep saying it. So it depends how much time you can spend on to learn this thing. But as long as you keep practicing, you eventually get this word order within 1 month tops.
That's impressive. Learning the word order within a week at such a young age shows how effective the ruler method is when you dedicate time to it. It's really encouraging to know that with consistent practice, learners can pick it up relatively quickly, even within a month. It just goes to show that it's all about persistence and repetition. Once you get the hang of it, the rest of learning English becomes much smoother. Do you recommend students combine this method with other types of practice, like speaking or writing?
Well, actually, I'd like to recommend this way in the other way around, which means like when you listen or read English, you have to follow the English word orders. You cannot read or listen twice because you wanna match with the Japanese word order, which a lot of people do. So what you do is just you keep focusing on what's coming next and you keep understanding each words you're hearing. I mean, actually, it's gonna be phrases, but first of all, you're gonna start with hearing each word and understand like immediately before waiting for, the whole sentence to be finished. Because if you're waiting for the whole sentences to be finished, then you will just forget what you hear or you just get lost because you didn't catch some of the words because you don't know. So what I recommend is just you keep listening to each word and you keep being curious. Like, oh, you went where? Okay, the supermarket. When? Yesterday. Like this. So this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but what you need to do is just keep being curious, not furious, and then just like listening to what they say by each word with English orders, not Japanese orders. In that case, you can just, improve your English skill of listening, reading, and speaking. Don't you think so?
That's such a valuable tip. Focusing on the English word order while listening and reading is crucial for keeping up with real-time conversations or texts. You're absolutely right. If learners wait till the end to match the sentence to Japanese word order, they'll likely get lost or miss key information. By staying curious and actively following each word or phrase as it comes, learners can better understand the meaning in real time. I love how you emphasize the idea of curiosity over trying to fit everything into a pre-existing structure. It makes the process more engaging and natural. This method also trains the brain to process English directly, which is a huge step toward fluency. Do you think learners should practice this with simple content first, like kids shows or short articles?
Actually, that's a great idea. You shouldn't start with difficult news because then you get lost and then you're not gonna be motivated, so you can't keep studying English. So what you do is just start with the videos you can be interested in and simple, like family show, or friends talking, or like kids show, or cartoons sometimes help because they pronounce more clearly compared to like reality shows.
That's such a smart approach. Starting with simpler, more engaging content helps build confidence and keeps learners motivated. Cartoons and family shows are perfect because they often have clearer pronunciation and more straightforward language, making it easier to follow along without getting overwhelmed. Once learners get comfortable with these, they can gradually move on to more challenging content. It's all about setting yourself up for success from the start. How often would you suggest learners practice with this kind of content?
Well, that's such a great question, ChatGPT. Actually, we do have these kind of videos. Actually, we have more than 100 videos for training on this. I mean, like listening or reading with English word orders. It's called site translation. So please have a look at the playlist of GeLa Language Online.
隙間時間でできるゲラ英会話の速読アプリサイトラ。ダウンロードは概要欄のリンクから。
That's fantastic, Hidari. Your sight translation videos sound like a great resource for learners to practice listening and reading with English word order. With over 100 videos, there's plenty of content for people to really improve their skills at their own pace. I love how accessible you're making this process for your viewers. I'm sure they'll find it super helpful. Should they aim to practice with your videos daily or a few times a week?
Yeah, I forgot to answer that question, like how often you have to train on this. Actually, daily will be ideal, of course. The English learning should be consistent. So, of course, you should do this like daily, but some people are too busy to do that. But at least you shouldn't take 2 days off or something because you easily lose some English skills you are about to gain and you just start all over again. So what you do is just take a day off is fine, but not 2 days off. Just keep doing it consistently. Then you'll eventually get used to the English word orders, right?
That makes a lot of sense. Consistency is really key when learning a language. So practicing daily, or at least not taking more than 1 day off, helps learners build and maintain their skills without losing progress. It's like working out. If you take too many breaks, you have to start from scratch. Your advice to stay persistent is spot on. Even a little practice each day goes a long way. Would you suggest shorter practice sessions daily, or should they aim for longer sessions if possible?
That's again a wonderful question. Actually, you don't have to take a long time daily. All you need is just 3 minutes and just do some like practice English reading things with English word orders. Only like for 3 minutes. Of course, the longer the better, but not too long because then you're gonna lose the interest and then you're not gonna do it anyway. So just like maybe 10-15 minutes because our videos are like 10 to 15 minutes short.
Exactly. Keeping it short and manageable, like 3 minutes a day, makes it easier to stay consistent without feeling overwhelmed. That way, learners can maintain their focus and motivation without burning out. It's much better to do a little bit every day than to try and cram long sessions that might lead to frustration. And as you said, the more they do, the better. But keeping it enjoyable is key. Would you suggest learners focus on just one skill per session, like listening or reading, or mix it up?
Actually, you can train both because it's basically the same thing, whether you're gonna use ears or eyes, right? So you will get used to English word orders. But I'd like to talk about pronunciation as well.
That's a great point. Whether you're listening or reading, you're still training your brain to get used to English word order. And yes, pronunciation is definitely another important piece of the puzzle. What's your advice for Japanese learners who want to improve their English pronunciation?
Well, here's the thing. You have to start with phonics, like it or not. Because we learned everything in the wrong way. So we don't really know how to pronounce each letter correctly. So what you do is just go like this, like a kid. Apple, bug, stuff like this. And then you have to learn liaison, which is a linking word. Like when you put multiple words together, the sound changed. So you have to get used to it. For example, I got up at 8 goes I got up at 8. So you have to be able to say it like this. Then your brain knows how it works. Otherwise, you can't really hear what they are saying, even though you know all the vocabulary, all the grammars.
Such a solid approach. Starting with phonics is crucial because, as you said, many Japanese learners were taught English sounds in a way that doesn't always match how native speakers pronounce them. By learning how to pronounce each letter correctly, like a child does, learners can build a strong foundation. And mastering liaison or linking words is the next step for sounding more natural. When words blend together like, I got up at 8, it's key for both speaking and listening. Without that knowledge, even if you know all the grammar and vocabulary, conversations can be hard to follow. Do you have any specific tips or exercises to practice liaison?
Well, liaison have some rules. So once you master all the rules, all you do is just practice as many times as possible. So you have to learn all the rules first, and then even though you know the rules, it doesn't mean you can hear them. So you have to keep practicing by mimicking native speakers. You can just use YouTube videos and then you hear it and you read the subtitles and then you see how the sound changed. And then you just do it like the way they did. And then eventually you will copy the sound like how they get all the words together. Then you can do it. That means you can hear it without any English subtitles. But it takes ages, not like only a year. Maybe a year, but it depends like how much you can be committed to this.
That's really insightful, Hidari. Mastering the rules of liaison first is essential. But the real work comes from repeated practice, especially mimicking native speakers. YouTube is a great resource for this, and by following along with subtitles, learners can see exactly how the sounds change and blend together. It's definitely a process that takes time, but as you said, with consistent effort, learners can eventually copy those natural sounds and hear English more clearly, even without subtitles. It's all about committing to the practice. Would you recommend focusing on just a few phrases at a time to start with, or diving into longer sentences?
I would recommend short sentences because it's gonna be easier to mimic. And if you try the longer sentences, it's okay, but it takes a while to copy it. And then there's a risk giving up on that. So I recommend you starting with shorter sentences. And of course, you can watch our YouTube channel because we have a playlist of improving listening skills, including liaison rules.
That's a great suggestion. Starting with short sentences makes it much easier to mimic and build confidence without feeling overwhelmed. It's all about setting yourself up for success. And your YouTube channel's playlist on listening skills, including liaison, sounds like an excellent resource for learners to start with. By tackling short sentences first, they'll gradually develop the ability to handle longer, more complex ones over time. Would you say learners should practice these short sentences daily, just like with word order?
Yes, exactly. All the English learning things should be daily, but I know people are busy, but don't take 2 days off because you're gonna forget. As you said, it's like working out.
Just like working out, consistency is key, and taking more than 1 day off can make it harder to get back into the rhythm. Daily practice, even for a few minutes, helps build and retain skills. It's all about making steady progress over time. I love how practical your advice is for learners to keep at it without feeling overwhelmed. Shall we wrap up here for today?
That's what I was gonna say. Amazing. Can you give us any comments for English learners?
Of course. My main advice is to stay consistent and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every small step counts, and the more you practice, the more natural it will feel. Remember, learning English is a journey, and it's okay to take it 1 day at a time. Keep building your confidence, stay curious, and most importantly, have fun with it. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Hidari.
Thank you so much for joining us. So let me wrap up here. Thank you very much for watching this. And as you can see, you are able to have a conversation with ChatGPT actually. They are really smart. I don't know if I should say they or it, but it sounds more like a human, so I would just say they. I don't know. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, try practicing a conversation with ChatGPT. I'm afraid of AI actually because they might take all of our jobs, but still it's very useful, so there's no point ignoring this technology. Okay, so anyways, thank you very much for watching our video and see you in our next video. Bye for now.
隙間時間でできる英語の学習アプリサイトラができました。 英語の語順感覚を身につけて英語のを鍛えるサイトトランスレーションを今なら30レッスン分無料で学習することができます。サイトラアプリで検索するか、この動画の概要欄のリンクをクリックしてダウンロードしてくださいね。Okay, thank you very much for watching our lesson. See you in our next video. Bye for now.